Can you actually imagine Coronation Street without Kevin Webster? I mean, really think about it for a second. The man has been a fixture on those cobbles for over 40 years. We've seen him through marriages, affairs, cancer, and every disaster the writers could throw at him. But right now, it feels like the walls are finally closing in. And the kicker? It's not some random villain or a freak accident this time. It's his own family. Or at least the person he thought was family. This isn't just another soap opera spat. We're looking at a total, high-stakes collapse of the Webster legacy, and it's happening in the one place Kevin always felt safe, his garage. Was this all just a massive, tragic mistake by Carl? Or are we watching something much darker and more calculated bubble to the surface? We need to dive deep into this final showdown because the psychological mess behind this shooting is way more dangerous than the gun itself. Let's set the scene. Weatherfield is basically a pressure cooker right now. Everything is moving from these quiet, whispered secrets to a literal life or death struggle right there at Webster's auto center. For decades, that garage has been Kevin's sanctuary. It's his church. It's where he fixes things and does honest work. But Carl has gone and turned it into a crime scene. The whole thing kicked off when Kevin found that footage. You know the one. It clearly shows Carl sabotaging Kevin's car brakes. Think about that for a minute. That's not just a disagreement. That is a cold, calculated attempt to end Kevin's life. In my opinion, Kevin's rage here isn't just understandable, it's unavoidable. Carl didn't just attack a man. He attacked Kevin's very identity as a mechanic. He used the tools of Kevin's trade to try and kill him. The irony is just painful. The garage should be a place of safety, but instead, it's become a locked cage. Theo really get why Carl is even holding a gun. We have to look at the absolute wreckage of his life. For a whole year, we all thought he was Kevin's long-lost brother. Then the writers dropped that massive bombshell. He's actually Debbie's secret son from her time in Germany. Talk about a psychological gut punch. Carl is basically the product of a 40-year lie. When you find out your entire origin story is just something made up to cover a teenage pregnancy, you don't just get a bit upset. You lose your moral compass. Internally, Carl must be feeling so much rejection. He's desperate to belong somewhere, even if he has to use violence to force it. He's been discarded twice, once by his mom at birth and now by Kevin, who won't even give him a job reference. I don't see Carl as some mastermind villain. Honestly, he's a consequence. He's the physical version of all the guilt Debbie has been hiding for decades. If you ask me, Debbie is just as much to blame here. You can't raise a kid on a foundation of lies and then be shocked when they can't tell right from wrong. This is classic nothing-to-lose behavior. He's being squeezed by Fiona, this dodgy dealer who gave him the gun, and a one-week deadline. When you mix that kind of external pressure with a total identity crisis, you get a man who thinks a weapon is the only power he has left. Now, let's talk about that confrontation in the garage. It's such a fascinating study of two different kinds of men. You've got Kevin, the old guard. He believes in loyalty and hard work. Then you've got Carl, the modern threat who takes criminal shortcuts. When Kevin picks up that wrench to go after Carl, it's such a huge symbol. A wrench is for creating and fixing. But in that moment, it becomes a weapon of prehistoric rage. Kevin is just reverting to his basic instincts to protect what's his. But what is he feeling deep down? It's not just about the brakes. It's the crushing realization that Tyrone and Ronnie knew what Carl was doing and didn't say a word. That silence? That's the real betrayal. It's a betrayal of love, and it's pushed Kevin into a headspace where he's not even thinking about his own safety anymore. I'd actually argue that Kevin's refusal to believe the gun is real is just his ego trying to protect him. He's been the tough guy for so long that he literally can't imagine someone actually having the power to kill him. It was so reckless. You never call a bluff when a man is as desperate as Carl. By lunging for that weapon, Kevin took a scary standoff and turned it into a total tragedy. He's got this hero complex that makes him think he's invincible, but the cobbles don't care about your history once a trigger is pulled. We really have to look at Tyrone and Ronnie, too. They're honestly the most tragic part of this whole garage mess. They're the good men whose silence let this whole thing spiral. Their choice paralysis, Not telling Kevin because they wanted to protect Debbie is what led right to this gunshot. They tried to play both sides, and in a soap, that never ever works out. Imagine being Tyrone. You've looked up to Kevin like a father for 30 years. And now you're standing there, watching him walk toward a loaded gun, knowing you kept the secrets that put him there. The fear in Tyrone's eyes isn't just about the bullet. It's about knowing he's probably ruined his relationship with the only man who truly cared for him. I see his silence as a betrayal born out of pure fear. He was so scared of the conflict that he let a potential killer stay in his house. And then you have Ronnie trying to bury the hatchet while a gun is pointed at his face. It's just delusional. It was way too late for peace talks, and his intervention during the struggle is probably exactly what caused that gun to go off. It's a classic case of misplaced loyalty. They put Debbie's feelings above Kevin's life, and now they have to live with that while all this is exploding in the garage. The rest of the street is falling apart in ways that actually mirror the Webster drama. Take Sam Blakeman. His struggle with psychosis is heartbreaking, and it's a weirdly perfect reflection of how unstable things have become. Sam is losing his grip on reality, seeing a sinister version of Roy Cropper. Just like Carl, Sam's world is distorted. For Sam, it's a medical crisis, but the feeling of helplessness is the same. Nick Tilsley is standing there watching his son barricade himself in the cafe, and he's just as powerless as Kevin is in the garage. Both of these fathers are watching their worlds crumble and realizing they can't fix it with a tool or a hug. The fact that Sam's monster is Roy is just a genius move by the writers. Roy is the moral heart of the show. If Sam can't trust the idea of Roy, it shows that the very sense of safety on Coronation Street is gone. I actually love that Carla is the one to spot what's happening. Her own history with psychosis gives her an empathy no one else has. It's a rare moment of real kindness in a sea of chaos. The show is really playing with reality versus perception here. Sam's brain is lying to him, while the Websters have been lying to each other for 40 years. Either way, the truth is the only thing that can save them, but the truth is also what's causing all the pain. Then we have Gary Windass and Sarah Platt. They're sitting on a secret that's just as explosive as Carl's gun. Maria is watching them like a hawk, and she's convinced they're having an affair. But we know it's about the Theo murder investigation. The way they're constantly deleting messages and having these hushed conversations, it's turned their lives into a full-time job of lying. Gary booking that surprise holiday? That is such a transparent, guilty husband move. It actually makes him look worse. Maria is terrified because she knows what Gary is capable of. Every secret conversation she sees is just a reminder that she might never truly know her husband. I'd argue that the secret they're keeping is the metaphorical gun in their story. It hasn't fired yet, but when it does, it's going to wreck the Windass and Connor families. Gary is playing a really dangerous game with Kit, who is clearly onto him. Gary thinks he can outsmart everyone, but he's forgotten that on the cobbles, secrets always find a way out. It's all about guilt-driven overcompensation. He thinks a trip to the sun can buy back the piece he sold, but you can't buy your way out of a murder probe, so let's get back to the big question. Who took the bullet? The spoilers tell us a shot was fired while Kevin and Ronnie were wrestling for the gun. I honestly don't think Kevin is going to die, even with all those exit-sealed headlines. Michael Lavelle is just too legendary to kill off like this. But my theory? Someone else is going to take that hit. Maybe Ronnie or even Tyrone. If it's Tyrone, it'll absolutely destroy Kevin. He'll feel responsible for dragging Tyrone into his mess. If it's Ronnie, it'll break Debbie just as her dementia is starting to take hold. The long-term fallout is going to be the end of the Webster family as we know it. You can't just go back to fixing cars and having dinner together after your nephew pulls a gun on you. Carl's future is totally up in the air. Even if he doesn't get shot, he's a walking dead man because of that deadline from Fiona. He's burned every bridge he had. Even if he stays out of jail, he has no home to go back to. And what about Debbie? This whole situation is just cruel for her. Her mind is starting to fade from dementia, and her reality is becoming a literal nightmare. There's that scene where she hears a balloon pop and thinks it's a gunshot. That is just peak soap opera tragedy. Her brain is reliving the trauma of the garage in real time. She's trapped by her own secrets and by a disease that's stealing her ability to even know what's real. I see her dementia as a kind of karmic debt for the Websters. They spent 40 years pretending things didn't happen, and now Debbie is losing the ability to remember at all. I think the only way Carl could ever be redeemed is through her. If he can put his anger aside to take care of the mother who lied to him, maybe we'll see a bit of humanity left. But right now, he's just a loose cannon. Even the younger characters are getting sucked into the darkness. Betsy Swain has this incredible offer to go to fashion college in London, but she's hesitant.
Why?
Because the street is in such a state. Her hesitation shows how even the ambitious kids are tied to the trauma of Weatherfield. Lisa Swain is probably feeling that parental panic, wanting to keep her daughter close because the world feels so dangerous right now. Betsy's story is like a little light in the dark, but even that is covered in suspicion. Good news isn't celebrated here, it's scrutinized. If you ask me, Betsy should just run. She should get as far away from the Websters and Gary Windass as she can. Weatherfield is like a vacuum that just sucks the life out of people if they stay too long. It's that survivor's guilt kicking in. She feels bad for having a future when everyone else is stuck in a loop of violence. Looking toward 2027, this garage shooting is going to be the engine for everything. I'm predicting a massive police investigation that's going to expose everyone, not just Carl, but Tyrone and Ronnie too. We're looking at a total reboot for the Websters. Kevin might survive, but the version of him we've known for 40 years? He's gone. He'll be replaced by a man who is paranoid and broken. He won't even be able to trust Tyrone. And what happens to Carl? Jonathan Howard has said he wants to stay for the dementia storyline, so I don't think he's going to prison immediately. He might be the one who gets hurt, which would force Debbie and Kevin to look after him every day. That's a much more soap ending. Making the characters live with their mistakes is always more painful than just killing someone off. Now, I really want to know what you guys think, because this is one of the most intense stories we've seen in ages. Do you think Kevin was right to try and grab that gun? Or has his ego finally put everyone he loves in danger? Is he a hero, or just a reckless guy who can't admit he's out of his depth? And what about Carl? Is he beyond saving after trying to kill Kevin and traumatizing Debbie? Or is there still a chance for him to turn things around? Can the Websters ever really be a family again after a 40-year lie? It's hard to see a way back from this. Drop your theories in the comments. You guys always come up with the best ideas, sometimes even better than what the writers give us. I'm dying to see who you think took that bullet. If you liked this deep dive into the Webster family war, and you want to keep up with all the drama on the cobbles, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button if you think Kevin needs to be more careful. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video. We'll be talking all about Gary's guilt holiday and whether Maria finally gets the proof she's looking for. It's going to be huge, so don't miss it. The truth is finally coming out, and it's going to come out with a bang. The thing about Coronation Street is that no one is ever truly safe. We think these characters are invincible because they've been around forever, but that's the magic of a good spoiler. It makes you question everything. A wrench becomes a weapon, a garage becomes a cage, and a nephew becomes a killer. It's a wild ride, and honestly, the Websters probably needed this shock to the system. They've been stuck in the same cycle for way too long. This is the moment the show changes. You can't go back to changing oil and fixing fan belts after a shot has been fired. The atmosphere of the whole street has shifted. Think about the physical reality of that garage scene for a second. The smell of oil, the sound of the door locking. Ronnie thought he was helping, but he basically built a trap. Carl pulling that gun was a knee-jerk reaction. He's not some professional hitman. He's just a scared guy who's run out of options. But once that gun is out, you can't just put it back in the box. Kevin's reaction is just so typical of him. He thinks he's immune to bullets because he's a legend. He actually called Carl's bluff. Can you imagine being Tyrone in that moment? Watching the man you respect most walk toward a loaded weapon? The betrayal Kevin feels about Tyrone knowing is going to hurt way longer than any physical wound. And the timing of it all is just perfect. Kevin is dealing with this job reference letter. He tells Carl no, and it seems like such a small thing, right? But for Carl, that was the final door closing. He's being pushed out of the normal world, and that's why he took that call from Fiona. He needed a backup plan. But with Carl, nothing ever goes to plan. The gun was supposed to be for a quick job, but it turned into a lifetime of regret and a heartbeat. The sources say that during the struggle, the gun just fires. Everyone is stunned. Those shockwaves are going to hit everyone in Weatherfield. What about Debbie? She's the one who's been carrying this massive secret for 40 years. She let Kevin believe Carl was his brother. Now she's having nightmares about the garage. She's reliving the horror even at a gender reveal party. When that balloon pops, she's not at a party anymore. She's back in that garage. It shows how much her mental state is crumbling. The trauma of Carl's actions is literally making her dementia worse. It's just a tragedy on top of a tragedy. We should also look at Gary and Sarah again. Maria sees them hugging, and she hears Gary say they have to delete their messages. If you were Maria, wouldn't you think the worst? She's been through so much with him. She knows he's capable of keeping secrets. But the funny thing is, the secret he's actually keeping might be even worse than an affair. It's a murder investigation. The shifty behavior is a classic soap move, but it works because we actually care about Maria. We don't want to see her get her heart broken again. Gary booking that holiday is so transparent. It's a guilt trip in the most literal sense. And don't forget Sam. He's at the hospital, and Nick is just lashing out at everyone. He's blaming Ben for not spotting Megan's crimes. It's a mess. But then Sam asks to see Roy Cropper. That is such a beautiful, sad touch. Roy is the moral center of the street. If Sam can find some peace with Roy, maybe there's hope for everyone else. But in that garage, hope feels a long way away. That we've also got Betsy. She has this amazing offer from the fashion college, but she's worried about Dylan and her mom. It's a reminder that life keeps moving outside the Webster drama. But how can she leave when everything is falling apart? Carla is happy for her, but Lisa is hesitant. It's that classic conflict between wanting your kids to succeed and wanting to keep them safe. Back to Kevin and Carl. Carl's future is hanging in the balance. Soaps love that phrase. It usually means prison or the hospital. Since Carl has to stay for Debbie's story, I'm betting on a long recovery or some kind of deal. But Kevin? If he's the one who gets hit, it would be the biggest exit ever. Michael of Bell has been there forever. Could they really kill off Kevin Webster? It feels impossible, but those exit-sealed headlines are everywhere. It keeps us on the edge of our seats, doesn't it? That's the magic of a good spoiler. It makes you question if even the invincible characters are safe. The psychological layer here is all about legacy. Kevin wants to protect the Webster name. Carl wants to claim it or destroy it. When Carl pulls that gun, he's saying, "I'm not one of you." And when Kevin tries to grab it, he's saying, "You don't belong here." It's a fight for the very soul of the family, and the shock is that there might not be a soul left to save. Ronnie trying to play peacemaker was a nice thought, but you can't bury a hatchet when a gun is pointed at you. It was just too late. The gunshot is the sound of the truth finally breaking through all those lies. And that's a sound that's going to echo for a really long time. I even want to mention the real-life stuff like Jack P. Shepard getting a hair transplant and talking about it on his podcast. It's a reminder that these actors are real people. It's funny to think about David Platt having a shaved head while all this heavy drama is going on. It adds a bit of meta humor. But on screen, there's no room for jokes. It's just raw, unfiltered drama. A lot of fans think the villains are dominating too much lately. Sometimes it feels like the bad guys have all the power. But in this case, Carl's power is actually really fragile. He's being threatened by Fiona, confronted by Kevin, and he's losing his mind. He's not a mastermind, he's a mess. And that's what makes him so dangerous. A mastermind has a plan, but a mess just has a knee-jerk reaction. Where do we go from here? The aftermath of this shooting is going to be the main focus for weeks. We'll see the police, the hospital scenes, and the fallout between Kevin and Tyrone. It's a total reboot for the Websters, and honestly, they probably needed it. They've been stuck for a while. This is the shock to the system that will carry the story through the next year. Debbie's dementia is the ticking clock, Carl's guilt is the engine, and Kevin's survival is the big question mark. This is high-stakes television at its best. I really want to hear your thoughts on Carl. Is he redeemable? Or has he gone too far? And Kevin, is he the hero here, or is he also to blame for how things escalated? Let's get a debate going in the comments. I see a lot of people saying Kevin is a legend and can't be touched, but legends fall all the time. Just look at the history of the Cobbles. No one is truly safe, and that's what keeps us coming back week after week. A wrench becomes a weapon, a garage becomes a cage,